So I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about revising for maths, and the advice that I'm about to give might also be relevant for other subjects that are similar to maths. Now, in order to revise maths, you need to do 3 key steps. First of all, you need to do the questions, then you need to mark them, then you need to use what you've marked to fill in gaps, and then you do that on a loop. So first of all, doing the questions. Where would you get questions or papers from? The first place I would recommend to go to is Maths Genie for past papers. So if I show you the Maths Genie website, when you search Maths Genie on Google, this is the page that you come to. And for papers, you need to go to GCSE papers at the top, Edexcel exam papers, and you will find all past papers, foundation first, and then higher papers second. So on the left is the link to the maths past paper. Then on the right, you've got the mark scheme for that past paper, model solutions, and a video of someone explaining how to correctly obtain the answer for each question in the paper. Because they are past papers, what you also have at the top is the grade boundaries. So once you've sat all 3 papers in an exam series, you can go to the grade boundaries and you can see what grade your mark would equate to if you sat those papers in that specific year. Now, if you don't want past papers, but you want questions, then the sites we would recommend going to are Maths Genie, Maths Watch, or Sparks, and I'll show you a little bit more about how you'd access questions on those 3 forums in a minute. But how would you know what topics will come up in your GCSE? And this is when you use your knowledge organisers. So this is the knowledge organiser for the start of Unit 1. And this is what it looks like. So what you'll need to do when you get your knowledge organiser is you will need to highlight the key phrases that you will have to type into either Maths Genie, Maths Watch, or Sparks. So some might jump out to you already, such as add, subtract, multiply and divide decimals, using the product rule, rounding numbers, estimating, or significant figures. Once you've highlighted the key words in a knowledge organiser, that is when you go to either Maths Genie, Maths Watch or Sparks and you look up topic specific questions on one of these. So let's take rounding numbers, for example. So if I go back to Maths Genie, and again this is the page that you will come in on, if I go down to GCSE revision, if I start typing in rounding numbers, there we are, a video pops up on rounding. You have some exam questions and also the solutions, so model solutions. Something to note about the exam questions and the exam question booklet is they are identical questions. The exam questions just looks a bit more like a worksheet you might receive in class, and the exam question booklet looks a bit more like an exam paper. So it depends whether you want things that look a bit more like an exam paper or whether you're happy to save paper and you're happy for it to look like a worksheet. If you want to go on to Maths Watch, so that was the second website we mentioned, you will need to log on using your school logon. Mine will look a little bit different because I'm a teacher, but we both have this video tab at the top. So if you click on the videos, you can go down and select which qualification you are and your tier of entry. And then it was rounding we were looking at. Here we are, as you type it in, all of the rounding videos and questions will appear. So let's say I wanted to practice rounding to the nearest 10, 100 and 1,000. That is the video on it. And at the top, this yellow button will take you to interactive questions. So you always get standard questions and harder questions. And once you fill them in, it will mark it for you so you know whether you are correct or not. Okay, that's saying that because I haven't done the bottom 3. Final one you can choose is to use Sparks. So if I go to log on, you need to make sure you type in your school. And then you've all logged in school before, so you can just click the blue button at the top and select your Microsoft account. And that will log you onto Sparks. Now on the left-hand side, you've got the Independent Learning tab. So similar to Maths Watch, you can select your curriculum. You can then select your difficulty level, and it goes from 1 through to 5, and it's got a little blurb about each one, so you can select the correct level for you. And again, you can start typing in a topic name, and there it is, some rounding questions. You can click on the questions, and again, Sparks Maths will mark it for you. So similar to Maths Watch. Now, either Sparks or Maths Watch will mark it for you, but if you use Maths Genie or past papers, you will need to mark it yourself. So that brings it on to the second step. So you've done the questions, you now need to mark it. Once you've marked it, you will clearly be able to see where your strengths and weaknesses lie. So for example here, I got estimating wrong, but I got rounding right and I got percentages right. So I clearly need to do a bit more work on estimating. So that is when I would go back to Maths Watch, Maths Genie or Sparks, and I could do a bit more work on estimating in this case. You might also want to use Corbett Maths. I've seen quite a few people use Corbett Maths already. If you do want to use Corbett Maths, then I'd type into Google estimating, if that was the topic that you wanted to do, estimating, Corbett Maths, textbook. And the textbook at the end, make sure it brings up quite a large volume of question. It'll be an A4 page or 2. And there's QR codes at the top and the bottom for videos and solutions as well. So you can make sure, again, you can either watch a video if you're not quite sure or make sure that you mark the work. So just to summarise, you must do questions in order to revise maths. Once you've done the questions, you then need to go through and mark them. You then use your marked answers to determine where you need to fill in any gaps, and then that loops back round and you do that on repeat. This cycle is continuous until your exams, and that is the best way to improve your maths grade. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to come and speak to your maths teacher or myself, Miss Bidwell, and we'll do our best to help you out.